The United States federal government should better fund universities and colleges. So we're going to begin with our plain text. The United States federal government should better fund colleges and universities by reallocating current federal post-secondary educational expenditures to fund debate programs. Now specifically, we're going to reallocate research grants that fund the development of oil and natural gas production towards debate programs. So our agent here is the United States federal government, specifically the U.S. Department of Education. The enforcement is through normal means. Through the Department of Education. The funding also, once again, comes from the Department of Education, and the time frame is the 2013-2014 academic year. The net benefit, the criteria is going to be net benefit for social welfare, and yes, before I move on.
Can I just get a copy of that text, or either that or...
Okay, I write it down for you.
Okay, we'll write it down for you. Okay, and so that's, okay. So going on to our first advantage, which is for debate, right? So currently in the status quo, debate funds are being cut right all across the board, right? With the recession, we're just getting out of it. Unemployment rate is still high, and because of this, colleges are hesitant to spend money on debate programs. Now, the reason why this is because debate programs usually get funded by through communication schools. And I guess school policymakers see, they're like, it's really hard to prove that the communication school is making a difference, right? It's not like biology or something, or a hard science where it provides you extra funding because through you can sell your research to a company or something like that. So it's really hard to get funding for a communication school. Those are the first budgets being slashed across the board, right? So what the plan does is it provides extra money for debate programs, right? And if you have extra money for debate programs, what you can do, you can create civic engagement through a debate team, right? And the reason the way this happens is because if you have more money, you have more debaters on the team. You have more people who are willing to participate in the activity because you can spend more money on them and invest more time in them by hiring more coaches. Now what this does, you have civic engagement through programs such as the UDL. Like currently in the University of Miami, we have one of our debaters trying to restart the UDL, the Urban Debate League of Miami, because the program ended 5 or 6 years ago in Miami. We believe this is fundamentally good for multiple reasons, right? First, there's been research that proves that for Urban Debate League, participating in the Urban Debate League really helps the communities that are affected, right? Research in 2010 showed that if you participate in the Urban Debate League, you're 70% more likely to graduate than if you're not debater, and you're more likely to score higher on your reading and English ACT scores. And so we believe this is fundamentally good for the communities involved. And second, like if you have a higher budget for a debate team, you have more debaters who learn the skills, the different debaters too. We're all debaters, so we all understand the valuable skills that you gain from this activity, right? The critical thinking skills, the argumentation skills, the public speaking skills. Research has shown that debate increases communication comprehension far better than any other college activity. So basically, and this is better for innovation. And once you learn these skills, you can apply them in the real world, right? It's a real world. It has a real world impact because you apply these skills to whatever job, whatever endeavor you decide to take in your life. You apply them to. And it's better for the economy in terms of you're a better skilled individual in the workforce, and that's better for society as a whole. But before I move on, yes.
Question. The plan text we were given, you actually said something about natural gas subsidies.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay,
and it wasn't in what you
that's specific. Okay, going on. The enforcement. It's in the enforcement. The specific reallocation comes from because right now the way the government works is they give research grants to universities, right? So right now they give research grants to many schools for oil and natural gas production. So what we're going to do is take this research money away from the schools and reallocate it to debate programs, and that's how this plan is enforced through the universities interacting with the Department of Education. Okay, and when you think about more funding for debate programs, think about all the schools at this national tournament that aren't here, right? Think about the local schools. Think of the UNF or UCF or Florida Gulf Coast, right? Schools that should have debate programs or formerly did have debate programs that can't afford them anymore. We believe this is fundamentally bad because you don't have students that are engaging in critical thinking. You don't have students that are sure there are other ways to do this, but the research has shown debate is one of the easiest and one of the best ways to do it. I mean, I can personally attest to that. I mean, joining the debate team has helped me in numerous ways in terms of research, in terms of learning better argumentation skills, and I'm sure all of you can attest to that as well. Or else you would. I mean, if it wasn't beneficial to you, you wouldn't be here, right? So going on to my second advantage, right? The global warming advantage. So uniqueness. Right. Plenty of schools get money for researching oil and natural gas development, right? And these schools include Oklahoma State, Penn State, UC Davis, University of Chicago. A lot of these schools get money for oil and natural gas development. And what the plan does, it takes money away from this research and it puts it in a debate program. So why is this important? This is important because it forces these oil companies to forces us as a society to look for alternative energy means. Now, how does it do that? It does that through because look, the only justification justification these oil companies have currently is the research that justifies them, right? If you think about if you think about oil companies, the research that comes out of these places like Texas A&M, who make money off this research, what they end up doing is they say, oh, for like hydraulic, there's a research study that came out from through a college that says hydraulic fracking is bad, but hydraulic fracking is good. It's not that bad for the environment. But then it later was found that this study was a hoax. It wasn't conducted properly, right? So these studies they're only to justify oil programs, and we believe that, and so that those are the only things that are keeping these oil companies afloat in terms of justification. They're the only things that are preventing our mind shift from being completely changed in terms of accepting alternative energy methods and seeing the harms of oil, right? So what ends up happening is this: once we the focus on alternative energy is fast-forwarded in a world where you don't have this research to justify oil companies. Now, why is this important? This is important because we have a quicker shift to a post-oil world. We look for alternative energy methods, and it's better for our economy, right? Because you have development, you have technology, you have people coming in, you have people in different technology, energy sectors, right? Working on different development of technology. It's better because you have more innovation in the field, and this is a spillover, right? If you're going to focus on alternative energy, you have a spillover to other industries. And that's better for the economy. But going on, there's a small environmental advantage. There's less pollution, right? There's less oil spills if the oil companies aren't justified, right? The oil companies like BP, if there isn't research to justify them, they're more likely to look and spend more money into alternative energy research. They're more likely to get away from this oil and focus on other ways to make money that are renewable, like solar power or wind power solar power, wind power, things like that. Like there are more money to invest in those things, and this finally shifts public opinion, right? Because one thing, like I said earlier, it's the only thing justifying these companies. When these companies, when we agree, like all of us can agree that oil has a bad effect, but we still question it because there are new studies that come out that say oil isn't that bad. We have a crap ton of oil, and we're never going to run out of it, right? But if these studies stop coming out, then these oil companies can no longer justify the money that they spend into oil, right? They will be forced to look.
It also stops greenhouse gas emissions, which takes steps towards global warming.
Yeah, and it stops greenhouse gas emissions, right? Less oil, which takes steps towards solving global warming, which we believe to be a fundamental good, and that's why you should vote.